Yes.
I'll give you mine. Oh, wait a second.
Max, what side? This side or that side?
This side.
This
The
side.
flag, yeah.
Flag.
Yeah.
Where do you want?
That's right here. Yeah.
Oh, man, this one as well?
Yeah.
And we just need our chairman.
And then
We gotta switch that. Yeah, he can actually be the chairman. Okay, I can have Echo. He's putting on his jacket.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Right in there. Yeah, it's good. You're good there. Come on up a little bit, Marianne. Yeah, that's good. Okay, everybody right here. 1, 2, 3. Good. One more. We're good. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Oh, well, if they have like leftovers.
Go get him.
I sent him to go get it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's get the show on the road here. Good morning. Okay, good morning. All right. I'm Marianne Gomez Horta with the Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute, affectionately referred to as CHLI. So thank you all for joining us this morning. You're in for a nice treat. How many of you, by show of hands, are interns here on the Hill this summer? All right. How many of you work here on the Hill already? All right. Thank you very much. And how many of you are visiting from other programs for the summer? All right. So that last group, you have your checklist of all the monuments and the memorials. Make sure you get to all of that. So good. A few of the items I want to take care of before we get started, and I introduce our chairman to kind of really officially kick this off. You already met, I saw some of our board members who were up here, but let me first introduce them, and I'm going to ask them to please stand to be recognized by the future leaders who are here in the room. David Olivencia is already standing back here from Accenture. Thank you, David Olivencia, for being here. To my right, we have Susan Santana from AT&T, one of our founding board members. Stephen Holloway, the chairman of our advisory council. Thank you. Alberto Sr. here in the front row with Miller Coors, both on the advisory council. I think that's it, right? You know, they're my bosses, so I have to make sure I get this right. Okay. So we have a couple of things. Is you should have already a program in your hand that has the schedule for today. We have some breakout sessions, so you need to make sure you kind of check that out as well, and you know which session you want to attend. There's an insert that you should have also received. It has the information, the short photos and bios of the Twitter handles of all of the speakers as well, so you can kind of start getting a feel for which one of the sessions you want to attend. And then going down the list here, if you can, follow us on Twitter. So we're being videotaped, we're on live streaming. It is on our YouTube channel, which is TheCHLI. It's hashtag TheCHLI. That's our Twitter handle. It's the same for our YouTube channel. So make sure that you follow along and tweet some of the comments from all the different speakers. It's also a great way to track all the tips that all the speakers shared with you today. You can go back and look at that later as well. So use the hashtag FLC 2017 for the Future Leaders Conference 2017. So we would appreciate that very much. And then we have a Snapchat filter. So I'm going to try to make sure I follow the instructions on it because I don't know how Snapchat filter works. I got Twitter down and Facebook. So we have a Snapchat filter, so you can take your selfies and video and post with the filter to show that you are a future leader. I haven't even actually seen it, but I know it's like this poster up here that we have in the room and for a theme.
Marianne, let's get a.
Okay, you want to try it? Ethan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna
Who's
do a
got a
big
Snapchat?
selfie. So everybody just lean in. I'll do a video across, and we'll put the filter.
Okay, let's try it.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Hi.
Great.
Okay.
And then you just
Onto
the
your
filter.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool.
There you go.
Okay, there you go. I learn something every day. That's the whole game. Again, a couple of other housekeeping items. If there's anything else that you need, we have the young ladies over here and some of our summer interns and people who I want to introduce you to, so please stand up. Stephanie Hernandez, she's one of our interns this summer and here to help out. Lauren Ford as well with the Washington Center. Behind the screen right there is Michelle Lachia. Raise your hand, sweetie. She's a recent graduate of Florida International University, our communications manager. Juan Rangel over there at the front, is here to help as well. And Nina Roque in the front row, our director of programs and external affairs. So if you need anything, just please come and ask any one of us. You've already met who the board members are. They're also here to help and offer tips for all of you as well. And so with that, I'm going to start off by introducing our CHLI rock star, a former member of Congress who was here practically 2 decades. He is a very passionate person about Cuba, his homeland, passionate about leadership, passionate about you, future leaders. And he also has a very special place in his heart for the rule of law and making sure that we're here and we're advocating and fighting for others. And before I pass the podium on to him, there's been a lot of things going on this week. Yesterday in particular, we had a briefing in the morning to support the people of Venezuela, which, as you should all be following the news, that's really important, that we need to make sure that we do our part in the Western Hemisphere to support the people of Venezuela. And maybe our chairman can share a little bit about that as well. Some of you may not have heard the news, and if you probably caught just a little snippet of it as well. A friend of the CHLI family, a friend I know of the congressman here, Senator McCain, is been diagnosed recently with brain cancer. So before I know it's kind of a little bit of one of those tough moments, but before we kind of get all the fun going, can we just take a moment to just send some prayers to people of Venezuela and send some prayers to Senator McCain? Thank you. And with that, our rock star, the Honorable Lincoln Diaz-Balart.
I don't know about the rock star stuff, but it is a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Marianne, for that kind introduction and for putting things in perspective. The news last night about Senator McCain really hit me hard because we're all so busy up here and we have disagreements sometimes and on policy and other times on things like that. But you get to meet people. You'll see. Now that because you're already on the hill, and you'll be coming back, and it's a privilege to welcome you. We talk about future leaders. You're already leaders. You're already leaders. Look where you've come, where you've arrived. Think of all the challenges you've overcome already. You're leaders, and you're going to continue to be. You're going to continue to grow and learn. That's life. That's the most important thing about life. Always learning. and then trying to put learning into practical action. But you meet so many people here, and many of them are extraordinary. They're very nice. You know, people. One thing about democracy, people that get elected tend to be nice people. You know, and they tend to be pleasant. There are exceptions. You know, I mean, I've met a few. Like, more than, you know, I'm talking about my 2 decades here. Some you wonder, gosh, you know, how did they get here? But they obviously have a strength. Anyways, then there's some people that are just exceptional. When I was walking here, by the way, in this hallway, you know, after you get to the basement, you know, seeing all the offices, the liaison offices of the different branches of the armed services. And I was thinking, what a republic. You know, those men that gathered over 2 centuries ago and were debating. First they risked their lives, they risked their honor, they risked their everything to first sign the Declaration of Independence, and then, you know, the war came, and then the Constitution. What a republic they created. You know, with all of our defects, it's the best in the world, and it's the best ever. The most impressive success story. This republic. I was saying, you meet a lot of people here, and sometimes you meet exceptional, really exceptional people. John McCain is one such person. You know, he was tortured for years. Imagine his father. Imagine who he was. I'm sure you know the story. He was shot down. His jet was shot down. And his father, at that time, was the admiral in charge of all operations in the area. Imagine they had his son. And so they especially cruelly tortured him. And you know, he never broke. And up here, he's fighting all the time. So anyways, Marianne, thank you for mentioning him. And you know, I said a prayer for him this morning and wish him the best. As I said yesterday, we have a number of, all the board members are extraordinary. TheCHLI, they're really admirable people. It's a team. This Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute is a team, and it's an idea that finally was put into practice, into reality around 2003. The idea of a Hispanic, a Latino organization here in the United States, in Washington, that recognizes the importance of international trade to the Hispanics in the United States. The Hispanics in the United States can benefit so much from the growing market and links in our hemisphere and from our hemisphere to others, and at the same time is cognizant of the need for fairness and then also for social responsibility. And so we felt that we should form an organization to reflect that diversity of thought, if you will. And people have been helped, and over 200 are already graduates from the congressional leaders, and we're learning from them, and they're being benefited by their experiences and their leadership. And yes, yesterday we focused, again, our Chile's awareness of the fact that we live in a world, and that what happens anywhere, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, an injustice anywhere is an affront to justice everywhere. And so yesterday we focused on Venezuela. And I wish there were more coverage, more awareness in this country about what's happening in the hemisphere. The fact that Venezuela is a thuggery. It's as I said yesterday, it's a filthy subsidiary now, that regime, of a criminal enterprise in Havana. And that criminal enterprise, that dictatorship in Cuba that's lasted almost 60 years, metastasizes. And then now it has a colony in Venezuela. And the order is shoot to kill. Kill as many as you have to. Do not release power. Don't let it go. In the model of the dictatorship in Havana. And kill as many people as you have to, and then now that dictatorship, that subsidiary, that colony, has announced that it's going to have an election, they say, at the end of this month, to completely change the Constitution and install formally a system like exists in Cuba. And there's outrage by a lot of countries, including the government and the Congress in the United States. And so we focused on that yesterday. And again, I thank the board of Chile for having insisted on, in a clear manner, that Chile focus on the people of Venezuela. And I was certainly proud to see Alberto Sr. and the other members of our board yesterday there. David was there, and of course Stephen, and Susan wasn't able to be there, but was there de corazón. And I was so proud of them as they read the policy position that Chile took with regard to Venezuela. I'll just give you a few thoughts. Recently, a few days ago, I was having a conversation with a friend who's very passionate. It's interesting that Marianne says I'm passionate, and people say I'm passionate. I don't know why, because I think I'm like really reasonable and under control. But I guess the passionate label is a good one. I was having a conversation with a friend who I consider very passionate. He was saying, "There's too much money in politics. There's too much money in politics." I said, "That's true. That's true." And we had the amount of money has to be reduced in political campaigns. I said, "That's a good goal. It's a good goal." And if I were, if I could pass a law, I'd limit the amount that can be raised and spent by candidates for office to, I think he said $500,000 or $1 million. Nothing else, no more. I said, well, that's an interesting proposal. It's certainly obvious that there's too much money in politics. And I certainly wish that were not the case. I said, do you realize that, the Supreme Court in the United States that interprets the Constitution has ruled that the First Amendment to the Constitution, freedom of speech, does not permit a limit on what someone who has a lot of money can spend to express him or herself. In other words, if they want to run for office, they can spend everything they have. And there are billionaires out there. So I told my friend, do you realize that, for example, if you run for office and you impose that limit you talk about, and it's already, by the way, very hard to raise money when you run for office. If you run for Congress, for example, contributions to your campaign have to be personal contributions, personal checks, not corporate. $2,100 per check, the maximum for election. So there are significant restrictions already on, how much you can raise and how. Do you realize, though, that because of the fact that the Supreme Court, I told my friend, has ruled that the Constitution permits someone who has limitless funds to expend limitless funds, that then I told my friend, if you run for office, you'd really be at a disadvantage. And we know in our community a couple of billionaires, and they're always talking about they want to run. And so the Supreme Court has said if they run, they can spend all the money they want. Are you aware of that? I told my friend he wasn't aware of this. No, that's a problem. So sometimes things aren't as simple as they. A lot of times, they're not as simple as they seem. There are always other issues, other factors to be explored. Other democracies, like one thing I've done, always been interested in comparative politics and comparative law. By the way, we have already, and I will yield the floor to him in just a minute. One, and I think another one. But the one who's arrived already is the vice chairman. The vice chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute. By the way, we are proud of the fact we're genuinely bipartisan. Genuinely bipartisan. Others talk about being bipartisan. We implement it and we live it. And the vice chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Leadership, who I will yield the floor to in a minute, Congressman Henry Cuellar of Texas, is here and is honoring us with his presence, and he honors CHLI with his leadership day in and day out. So Henry, welcome. And we're going to have, I believe, Congresswoman Ross Layton, and also Congressman Hurd, Congressman Flores, I've been informed, will join us as well. Just before I ask Henry to get seated, yield the floor to Henry. Other democracies have different variations. For example, in Europe, they're parliamentary democracies. There, a lot less money in the system. Who knows who their member of parliament is? In France, the presidential system, the parliament is very weak. So there's a lot less money there, but this country, where members of Congress have to go out and their friends and supporters, they have to ask them for campaign contributions to get their message out and run for office, be successful in their campaigns. That's totally unique. And it permits the reality where this Congress is the strongest in the world, and members of Congress are known by the constituents. The constituents know who their member of Congress is, and if they have a problem, they go to their member of Congress. And their member of Congress, in effect, is an ombudsman. Is somebody there to help their constituents with problems. So anyways, there are pros and cons of every system. If I had to vote, I'd say the American system, because of the sovereignty of the people, the sovereignty of the Congress, the fact that every member of Congress, yes, party is important, but more important is his constituency and his conscience, or her constituency and her conscience. And so, again, one of the beauties of the American system. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this day. Henry Cuellar, the vice chairman, as I said, is a great leader, my friend who I learn from all the time. He gives countless hours, as well as his guidance and leadership to the Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute. It's really a privilege for CHLI to have the leadership of Henry Cuellar.
Lincoln, again, it's always a pleasure, and thank you for being our chairman. And again, thank you so much for all the good work that y'all do. And again, Lincoln, let's give Lincoln a big hand for the leadership. One of the most articulate individuals that I know, and certainly it was a pleasure serving with you in Congress, and been serving with your brother. I don't know if he's been here already. But for the last 2 weeks, we've been in appropriations, meeting to about 11, 12, 12:30 at night. And last night, we finished a little bit after 12. We're trying to get all the appropriations. Actually, we did finish all the appropriations bills and got them done, which is again important. And again, I was trying to find Mario, but I think it's been one of those late nights for all of us on that. But
Budget too.
yeah, oh, he's in budget also, so he was running around. They had late votes on that. So again, Lincoln and Mario, certainly want to say thank you for everything. And again, to all the leaders here, thank you for the CHLI, the leadership, the sponsors. Do we have some of the sponsors here? Preston, raise your hands if you're not here. We see some over there. Thank you again so much. Thank you so much for helping us. Again, one of the strengths in the CHLI organization deals with the sponsors, and there's a list of the sponsors, and we certainly want to say thank you so much because they help us with so many things, especially if it's the scholarships or the internships, to make sure that our young folks get the opportunities. And again, CHLI has done so much work that they directly have impacted the lives of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students and young professionals each year through this fellowships, congressional internships, scholarships, college readiness programs, to show you the academic part, but also the practical part to make sure that you all become good, productive citizens. What I want to talk about briefly is talk about the Hispanic population and education. Education to me is very, very important. My father and mother went only to about a first and third grade education. In those days, the more hands you had, the more money you made. That is, you would put the young kids to go work in the field. So my parents were out there in the fields at a very young age. They were taken out of school, and they worked in the fields for a long time. And again, it's something that you got to understand that even though they only knew just a few words in English, I'm the oldest of 8 kids, they all knew that education was going to be the way to make sure that the kids did well in life. And as the oldest of 8 kids, I took that to heart to make sure that we emphasize education. And this is why within the Hispanic population, education is very important, because the Hispanic population just can't grow. As we grow, we got to make sure that we get everybody with a good education. And let's look at this Hispanic population. Right now, we're 56.7% of the Hispanic population, at least about 2 years ago. That's about 17.6% of the U.S. population. Now, when you look at the median age for Hispanics, the median age is 28.1. Rather young population. If you look at the overall population for the United States, it is 36.8. So you compare the 36.8 median age to the young population of 28, you can see there's this growth and this young population coming in. Now the question is, what do we do about education? When you look at Hispanics, that is who's in the old days, it's interesting, my parents used to say, you all have to finish high school. Because in those days, high school was enough. But we know now that you got to go 4 years, and hopefully you can go beyond the 4 years. So let's look at high school graduation. For the Hispanics that have 25 and above that have not finished high school, it is 33.3%. So about a third of our folks 25 and above have not finished. You compare that to non-Hispanic whites, it is 6.7. So that have not finished. You can see we're a fast-growing population, but we still got to get more of our folks to go off to at least finish high school. Then you go into college. 15.5% of Hispanics have at least a bachelor's degree, or 4.7 an advanced degree, that is law school, medical school, or PhD. You compare that to Anglos, and you will see that 36.2% of the population have done at least a bachelor's degree. So it's 36 compared to 15, so we're about half of where we are. And if you look at the advanced college, we're at 4.7, and Anglos are at 13.5%. So it's more than double the amount. So do you see this? We're fast growing, we're a young population, but we gotta make sure that we do more. Now, there is a bright spot, and that is the ones that Hispanic high school graduates that have enrolled in college. The last numbers that we had for the Anglos at 65.7 is high school graduates going off and enrolling in college. For Hispanics, it's 70%. 70 plays a very important role. This is why one of the things that I've always emphasized, and I'll finish with this, is to make sure that we understand in history in Texas. And the good thing is, even though the majority over there is cutting education, one area that they have not cut and they keep adding money is the Texas grant, because whether you're a Democrat or Republican, people understand that the access, the grant money to go off to college is very, very important. Here in the U.S. Congress, Pell Grants. The Pell Grant is about Mario, there's Mario, Mario's here. Mario and I voted on making sure that we protect the Pell Grant, the amount of money. This few months ago, under the last appropriation bill, we did something, we restored something. Working with Mario, we were able to do the Pell Grants for the summertime, for the summertime. And as you know, that part is important because you can't have somebody say, hey, I'm just going to go in the fall, I'm going to go in the spring, and that's it. If somebody wants to go to college in the summertime to get advanced or make up, then the Pell Grant is now available. And I want to thank Mario for making sure that we all work together. And again, it was a bipartisan, working with Chairman Tom Cole, we were able to do this. So again, education is so important. I think it was John F. Kennedy who said that the progress of a nation can be no swifter than the progress of its educational system. So we gotta make sure that we support our Hispanic serving institutions, other universities, to make sure that they're strong and make sure that they have the ability to allow students to go in and get a college education. Finally, to Chile, because y'all have been so good, and the chairman, I have to say, Mark Twain said it the best, when he said, thunder is impressive, but it's lightning that does the real work. Think about this. There are some people that talk and they say they're going to do this and they're going to do this, but they're not able to roll up their sleeves and get their job done. CHLI, the CHLI organization, is one of those organizations that rolls up their sleeves. They help put a lot of the young folks into internships, scholarships, and other opportunities in the real world experience or governmental jobs, so you can get an idea. This is what CHLI does. And CHLI, I just have to say, I'm proud to be serving with Lincoln and with Mario and with the other friends. I see Will here, my good friend. And we're, well, I'm sorry. Just a moment. One of the smartest guys I've ever met, and who has worked so hard from Texas, Bill Flores. Did I read that? I can't read your handwriting here. I'm just kidding, Bill. And again, thank you. I see some of our folks here, some of the sponsors. Thank you. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Have a good day.
I'm going to ask that all the members of Congress on our board please join us for a photo now, because I know as soon as you talk, you got to get back to votes. And ask the board members, do you guys want to stand next to each other? And then John Hall, Susie, Lakeitha, Stephen, Alberto Sr., let's get all the board together now that we have our congressional members too. Who are we missing? Who are we missing? Okay, I'm going to just do it from right here, Max.
Billy. Thank you. Lincoln. I could hear Cuellar down in the other building, John. I heard him at Cannon. Come on in.
Better have.
All right, Matthew, get in there.
I'm not going to move that.
All right. Everyone, Max, raise your hand. He's the main
Everybody
camera
right
guy.
here?
He's the main camera
Good.
guy.
Right here, 1, 2, 3. Good. We're going to get a few more. Everybody right here in the center. 1, 2, 3. We're good. Anybody else?
All right, anybody else? We got the Twitter, the Facebook photos, all the other stuff. Okay, yeah, let's get that. All right, thank you. All right. Chairman, I leave it up to you to kind of.
Okay.
Thank you. Louder, they haven't seen that grabbing. Guys, come on.
I don't read that. Friends, by the way, with all those cameras and picture taking, I'm glad it's not in the old days. You don't notice why in the old days, a century ago, everybody's always like mean in the pictures? You know why, don't you? It took like 2 or 3 minutes to take a picture. So imagine holding that smile. It wouldn't work, so it would be, fuzzy, blurry, so that's why everybody just, from the beginning, just be serious. Anyways, mentioned before, Bill, I mentioned before, Will, that our prayers are with John McCain, that American hero.
Award winner.
Mario sent me, actually, the email last night, really,
Tell me.
about,
Oh, yes, Mario
the
said that, yeah.
diagnosis and
Terrible.
our prayers are with John McCain, an extraordinary friend and a
Yes.
great American hero. I mentioned earlier that in this process in Congress, and you get to meet a lot of folks, and many are impressive. The man I'm getting into, I also mentioned that, but you guys are here now, so you're all impressive. Truthfully. And if there's someone who, when you have a handshake, you can not only count on it, someone who stands for and symbolizes, personifies strength of character, is Bill Flores. And CHLI is so, as I mentioned to him a few minutes ago, so thankful that he dedicates countless hours and gives CHLI his guidance and leadership. It's my honor to call him my friend, Congressman Bill Flores.
Yay, Bill. All right.
Well, howdy to all of you all this morning. How many days have y'all been in DC this summer? How many days total has it been? All summer? Okay, great. Well, it's an honor to be here to address all of you today. CHLI is one of the organizations I hold dear to my heart, and I'm honored to be a member of the congressional board for CHLI, and to be able to interface with folks like you and to work with the leadership of CHLI as they reach out to the next generation of young leaders in this country to develop leaders of character and of effectiveness moving forward. It was great to follow Henry Cuellar. Henry and I are from different sides of the aisle, but we tend to work together on lots of things. And we know that our goal is to represent Texas first. And so irrespective of whether we've got a D beside our name or an R beside our name, so we're honored to work with them. Let me find out a little bit about you in this room if I can, because you're the future leaders. I'd just like to know a little bit about you and what's on your mind and what you're thinking about. So how many of you have graduated from college? Okay. How many of you are in college now? Okay. Now, of those two groups, how many of you are first generation college students? That's pretty awesome. Good for y'all. So, Henry said it all when it comes to education, so there's no need for me to repeat it because you need to hear other things on that. So, high schoolers, got some high school folks in here. Good for y'all. How many of you plan to go to college or technical school? Good for y'all. Now, how many of you will be first gen? Very good. That's awesome. So, how many of you are from the north? Okay, the south, the eastern part of the country, western part of the country, and my favorite part of the country, Texas. Okay, all right, good for y'all. Where are you from? Very good, good. I want to find out what's on your mind. I want to find out what the most important issue facing America is today in your mind. So I've got a list of 6 or 7 items. I'm going to run through them a couple of times, and then I'll ask you to think about them, and then I'll ask you to vote with a show of hands, if that's okay. So here are the issues. Again, the question is, what's the most important issue facing America today? Jobs and the economy, federal spending and deficits, border security and immigration, national security, defense, foreign policy, climate change, or other. Okay, so jobs, the economy, federal spending and deficits, border security and immigration, national security, defense, foreign policy, climate change. I'll tell you what, let's do this. We'll make 6 healthcare, and we'll make 7 other. How's that? Okay, y'all locked in, ready to vote?
Yeah.
You get to vote one time. Just what's the most important issue? Y'all remember your English? Most? Okay. Jobs, the economy. How many for that? Okay. All right. Federal spending and deficits. Okay. Border security and immigration. Okay. All right. National security, defense, foreign policy.
All the time.
Okay. You missed my vote yesterday. You know that.
What?
Yes. I'll remember. Climate change. Okay. Healthcare. Other. All right. So now several of you talked about national security being the most important issue. So I'm going to read the list of threats to the United States to find out what you think is the most, the greatest threat to the United States. So here they are: China, Iran, Islamic State, Russia, or North Korea. So you have China, Iran, Islamic State, Russia, or North Korea. So how many think China is the biggest threat to the United States today? Okay. Iran. Okay. Islamic State. Okay. Russia. All right. North Korea. Okay. All right, very good. That's helpful to me to get an idea. By the way, I've got a couple of members of my team that are with me today I'd like to introduce. So Jordan Ballard, where are you? Jordan's back there. He's holding the Starbucks cup and walking away from me. I guess he's leaving the room. I embarrassed him. And then Embryon is over here in the yellow dress. So thank you all for being here to be there. Well, I was asked to give you some thoughts about the future. So you've given me some thoughts about the future in terms of the feedback you gave me about the most important issues facing the country today, and also about what you think to be the biggest threats are. So on late night TV, there used to be a countdown of the top 10 things, and so I'm going to do this in that format, if that's okay with you. So here are the 10 things that Bill Flores thinks you can do to be successful in life, and these are things that I usually follow, not always follow, but try to follow. Number 10, study hard and keep learning. You all have shown, many of you, that you pursued your first generation college education, or you're going to pursue your first generation college education. So keep it up. Just remember, education doesn't end after you get. This is important. This next one, number 7. Remember those that work for you. The biggest impact you're going to leave on this life is not what you do for yourself, it's what you do for others. Think about those who helped get you to where you are today. Those that helped you with your studies, those that helped you perhaps get into college, those that helped get you out of the gym. Remember that as you move forward. Be sure to pay it forward. Number 6, treat everybody the way you want to be treated. Number 5, excessive pride. One of the things I see, one of the problems I see in this country today is the level of narcissism that we have here in the nation's capital. I work with more narcissists per capita than anywhere else. And just remember, here's sort of the sequence of things. Pride leads to arrogance. How many of you like arrogant people? And arrogance, when it goes unchecked, I had one person hold a hand up. And arrogance, when it goes unchecked, leads to narcissism. And narcissism is something that is generally considered to be untreatable. So once you reach that phase and you think you're godly, it's almost impossible for you to recognize that you've got that issue. Yeah, because you think everything you do is right. I mean, I've spent most of my career working in Houston, across the street from Enron. And one of the reasons that Enron failed, and many of you don't remember the name of that company, but Google it. But one of the reasons Enron failed is because its culture was that of narcissism. And it failed because of that. And so that's something that you have to remember. Remember that you put your pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. Whether you're the President of the United States, or whether you're the person taking the trash out of the schoolhouse at night. So remember that. Save time to play, lead a well-rounded life. I will tell you, I don't follow that very well as a member of Congress, because this is probably the hardest job I've ever had. But if you can, please try to do that. Number 2, remember the 10 Commandments. They'll answer almost every difficult question. Number 1, trust your God and live your faith. God put you on this earth for a reason. Try to find that and live it. And so again, I close by remembering the most important impact you leave on this world is what you do for others, not what you do for yourself. It's going to be, I'd like to close by saying this. Remember to pray for our country during its difficult times. For the military men and women that protect us so that we can have an open forum meeting like this. And for the folks, the first responders here at home that allow us to have a meeting like this, and safety and security, where we can feel free to express ourselves and to live our liberties. It's my honor to introduce, you've got half the Texas delegation here today, by the way, so it seems like it. Will Hurd is from Texas District 23. He and I are one of 5 Texas Aggies that are members of Congress. And so we make up over 1% of the House. I'm pretty happy with that. So that's pretty good. We're 0.10% of the population, but 1% of the House. So anyway, so Lincoln, did you want to finish the rest of Will's introduction? Thank you. Thank you all. God bless you, and have a great conference.
Thank you so much, Bill Flores. As you saw, his guidance and his wisdom are key to Chile, and we are so privileged to be the beneficiary of such guidance and wisdom. One of the items that Congressman Flores mentioned as he asked your opinion on, it was the issue of national security and threats to the nation. I talked about earlier about how here in this process you meet all sorts of folks, all sorts of people, and some you really get to admire. There's no one, I know Ileana and Mario share this sentiment, this view, no one in this Congress on the issue of national security, because of his background, because of his temperament, because of the fact that he truly listens to all viewpoints, is open to all viewpoints, and yet, when the issue of national security is involved, his judgment is extraordinary. Chile is privileged to have on its board Congressman Will Hurd. Thank you for being here.
Howdy. See, that's how you're supposed to respond to a fighting Texas Aggie. It's awesome to be here with y'all. And I want to add on to some of the things that Bill Flores was asking to get a sense of the room. How many of y'all study math and science in school? Okay. How many of y'all are studying like history or politics or international studies? All right. How many of y'all want to work full time up in Washington, D.C.? All right. How many of y'all don't want to work in Washington, D.C.? That's pretty, yeah, exactly, Bill. Y'all missed it. Bill Flores raising his hand. How many of y'all on Snapchat? Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. So one of the reasons that I wanted to be here is because I found out how great Chile was through experience. One of my best staffers went through many of the programs that Chile provides, and she has been so critical to our success back in the district, and I said, hey, I need to be a part of this. I want to make sure that we expand the number of internships that folks coming out of Chile are able to enjoy because of the work ethic, the background, the experience. It's pretty awesome. And I'm going to leave y'all with 2 points. Before I get to those 2 points, I want to talk about my background a little bit. So I was at Texas A&M, my degree's in computer science. I'd never been outside of Texas. I'm walking across campus my freshman year, and I see a sign that says, take 2 journalism classes in Mexico City for $425. I had $450 in my bank account, so I went to Mexico. And I fell in love being in another culture. I thought it was awesome seeing things I'd only read about in books, and I added international studies as a minor. And the first class I took in international studies, I had this former CIA tough guy tell the most amazing stories. He's this old school Cold Warrior, and I was like, wow, I did something I had never done. At that point in my college career, I went to his office, knocked on his door, and was like, tell me more. And that began my interest and fascination in the CIA. And when I graduated at 22, I went into the agency. I was a case officer, so I was basically the dude in the back alleys at 4 o'clock in the morning collecting intelligence on threats to our homeland. It was the best job on the planet. I did 2 years up here in DC, part of it at what I used to call our super secret CIA training facility called The Farm. Now it's on Google Maps. I wish that was a joke, and after the defeat, I ran into 740 people at the grocery store that forgot to vote. I wrote all the names down for the next. But it gave me enough. I didn't know what my plan B was. So if you were 32, what would you do? Or if time and money wasn't an issue, what would you do? I got 74 crummy answers. 75th was the father of one of my closest friends. My closest friends are these knuckleheads I've known since I was 13 years old. And my buddy's dad said, Hurry, I don't know what you should do, but do something meaningful and hard. Meaningful and hard. Right? I thought that was actually crummy advice at the time, but then I started thinking about it and realized that when you do things that are meaningful and hard, all the other stuff flows. Right? Having enjoyment, feeling like you're connected to something bigger than yourself, the feeling of a sense of accomplishment, being part of a team, all those stuff flow. So my first piece of advice, do something meaningful and hard. And that's different to each one of us. And the second thing I've learned the hard way. When I left the CIA to run for Congress, everybody said I was crazy. Nobody said I can do it. Nobody said I can pull it off. When I was in college, I actually ran for student body president and won. And when I was in college at Texas A&M, people were like, there's no way you're going to get elected student body president. And I was running against one of our Yale leaders, who's one of the most popular people on campus. We won. And when I won Congress, nobody said I could get reelected. Everybody was like, the black dude can't get elected in a Hispanic district. My district is 71% Hispanic, 29 counties, 2 time zones, 820 miles of border. It takes 10.5 hours to drive from one corner of the district to the other at 80 miles an hour, which is actually speed limit in most of the district. My chief of staff found out it's not the speed limit in all of the districts. But I always tell people, I said, my dad may be black, my mom may be white. Yo soy un Latino en mi corazón. And people are going to tell you through your entire life you can't do something. They're going to say you don't have the right background. They're going to say you don't have the right last name. They're going to say you don't have the right experience. And you know what? At times, you're going to start believing them. But do not take no for an answer. Very simple. And for y'all that are still in high school, start practicing that now. For those that are still in college, start doing it now. Because the more practice you get in learning not to take no for an answer, the better you're going to get at it, and it's going to be even more important when something big happens and you can't take no for that answer. So do something hard. No answer. She's going to get mad at me. I apologize in advance. We're going to try to do this in 45 seconds. All right? If you want, you don't have to participate. But everybody run up here, let's take it, and get your phones out, so I'm going to do a selfie on Snapchat. So everybody, I know you're on Snapchat, Olivia. Come on, get up here, we got 45 seconds. Everybody, you got to get within the white. You got to get within the white. There we go. I'm gonna do a video. Okay, so when I say free, everybody yell chili, okay? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. All right, now everybody look that way. Oh, sorry. Everybody look that way. And right there, the girl on the table. Awesome. Thanks, y'all. God bless you.
Yeah. Awesome. Where do you live? From Lytle. Okay. Yeah. Graduated from UT though, so I'm a lot of
What a speaker. Will Hurd. Thank you, Will. The idea of CHLI was in gestation for a few years. And finally we came together. There was a meeting in Miami back in 2003. And I'm going to ask Ileana Ross-Layton and Mario Diaz-Balart, who were at that meeting when we formed CHLI, and who have been key leaders ever since, to come on up together. They are, one I kind of love like a brother. I mean, I learn from him all the time, and he's an extraordinary public servant, Mario Diaz-Balart. And Ileana is, I've never, ever admired anybody more. And she is a symbol for people who are oppressed throughout the world. I remember when the news came that she wasn't going to run for re-election in 2018, the calls that I got, because people know about our friendship, and from people throughout the world, heartbroken. But she's going to remain in the good fights. And each and every moment of her existence, she's not only helping this organization and inspiring us, but helping people throughout the world. Why don't both of you come on up, and thank you.
Thank you. Let's take a photo here, Matt. Take a photo with the DBs. Let me get in the middle of the DBs. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lincoln. What a thrill to be here with my two legislative brothers and Corbello. Where is he? ¿Dónde está Chucky? Where's Chucky? Sid Wilson, is that you? Come on, let's take a selfie before we leave. We have to compete to see who gets to tweet that out before. But CHLI is such an important part of our lives. Right, Mario? CHLI is should be an important part of your life as well. You're here, so I know that it is. But as each one of you thinks about your journey and how you got here and your parents and the circumstances of your family's journey, everyone is different. But we have to celebrate the diversity that is the person sitting next to you. Because that person has a lot to say. That person, you can learn from that person. You never know what you're going to learn from the people in our lives, and you've got to be open to be able to get that feedback. And even rascals have good ideas. Good ideas come from everybody. Even Democrats, right, Mario? But for me, I came to the United States when I was 8 years old. I just turned 65. I have my Medicare card. Oh yeah, I should have brought it up to show you. It's a wonderful thing. And I came to the United States sin hablar ni una palabra en español, en inglés. Mi idioma era español y yo no sabía ni papa frita de inglés. Así que fue una tremenda aventura para mi familia, para mi hermano, para mí. Pero sabíamos que íbamos a seguir la lucha contra Castro, contra el comunismo. Eso sigue presente en nuestros corazones y nuestras acciones. But we knew that we were given a gift to be here in the greatest country in the world, so many opportunities, and to think that that little girl who came here when she was only 8, not speaking a word of English, would one day become a member of Congress, the first Latina elected to Congress. Says a lot, not about Ileana Ross-Layton, but it says a lot about this great country. And you can be one of the first, or the second, or the third. You don't have to be the first, but make it happen for you. Because just as Bill Hurd said, there are going to be 20 reasons why you can't do this and you can't do that. I took the place of Congressman Claude Pepper, who was here for a long, long, long time. Generations of political leaders came and went, circling like vultures around poor Claude Pepper's body. And so I was not supposed to win in my first election. But good things happen when you work and when you prepare. And education is the foundation of everything. I'm a former Florida certified teacher. You might have known that, Gabby, about me. Because I tell them to write that in every one of my remarks. And for me, education was the key that opened up this world of politics. Unlike Bill Hurd, you heard how he was active in campus politics. I didn't participate in anything. I never ran for student government. I wish I had. It's a great thing. In college, never participated in anything related to politics. In our family, no one was elected to anything. No one even thought of running. These Ballard, they have everything. They had a great name, the intellect, and a family pedigree of incredible political leaders. I like all of that. So you can do it, even if you lack all of that stuff. I mean, they still had it. I'm not saying that anything was handed to Mari or to Lincoln. I don't mean that at all. I don't mean that at all. But I'm not saying that. But everybody's circumstances are different, and everybody's journey is different. But yours is unique, and you've got to build on that. And I am so happy with the opportunity that God and my family and the voters gave me to represent our community here. It is just a thrill. I wake up happy, I go to sleep happy, I'm a happy warrior. And after, now it's gonna be 29 years that I've been in Congress, holy Toledo. And I will miss this place, so I'm not leaving angry or bitter or, oh, this was too much, and the demands, oh, these people just complain all the time. And I think to my colleagues, get another job, do something that you like. Maybe this isn't what you're meant to do. They're so grouchy. And I love what I do, and I hope that it shows. I love to represent our community. We get to help so many people with, we specialize in immigration cases and immigration cases and immigration cases and then a little immigration case. So Mario's district, Chucky's district and mine, it was the same district. And you know, even to this day, when the three amigos are together, Lincoln, Mario and I, people still come up to us and they say, oye, yo voté por los tres. And in their mind, they really did vote for us because we are one. We're individuals, but we're really united as a team. So work together as a team wherever you end up. Don't do things just for you. Work as a team and you're going to get far. And I love CHLI. And Gabby, come on up here. Let me embarrass you. One of the wonderful things that CHLI does is they groom future leaders and present leaders. Gabby was just given a wonderful award by CHLI called the Vermillion Award. Vermillion is a former chief of staff of Lincoln Diaz Ballard who died tragically very early from an aggressive cancer. And that award is now named for him. And who is it given to? Members of Congress? No. It's given to the people who do all the work, the staffers. So Gabby, you deserve a round of applause. And surround yourself with good people who have the best of intentions, and you're going to get far. And trust in yourself, and trust in God, and trust in your family. Porque después de todo, la familia es lo más importante. Never forget that family first. And that's what is good advice for you. Para mí es una thank you, Lincoln. Thank you, CHLI and Ethan. I know that Ethan was the one who put this whole thing together. Thank you. Another FIU product. All the good people are. Okay, Gabby, you and I are going to sit down. And ladies and gentlemen, my legislative brother, who is, honest to goodness, you hear the word powerful thrown around, and he's too humble and shy. I don't know, shy is not a word for Mario to say it. But he is the chairman of the subcommittee on transportation and public housing. His subcommittee has a budget of How much?
Between about 55 billion.
55 billion. His subcommittee. And I think you just passed it in.
Yeah, we passed all the appropriations
All the
bills as of last night.
So give him, he has been working long nights and long days. Ladies and gentlemen, my legislative brother, a little bit older than I am, but that's okay, Mario Diaz-Balart.
Thank you, Willie. Let me, I'm gonna be very brief. I'm gonna be very brief because I think you've heard from some, frankly, great public servants. I do wanna just recap a couple things. Thank the leadership of CHLI, starting with Congressman Lincoln Diaz-Balart, the board that is amazing, the staff. And you've heard so many important things, and I want to just restate a couple of them. Not that they are necessarily the biggest and most important, but I think they're the ones that I would like to just recap on and jump on. One of them is the concept of being involved and caring enough to be involved. Don't let, you either have anything about this, or you have the option to be the one who says, I'm going to fix this. And you heard from folks who had incredible life experiences. Second thing, when we made this country, that God has allowed man and woman to build on this planet ever. And it doesn't mean that we don't have issues. But all of us, right, are sons and daughters, grandsons and daughters of immigrants. This is the place where in the past and today, and we hope forever, people want to come and will sacrifice everything. Why? Because people know that if you work hard, your dreams are possible here. They're not going to be given to you. You have to work hard, as you heard. And I'm going to leave you with one kind of unrelated thought. You heard from some incredible people today, people that I have great admiration for. But there's one who's a little bit different. There's one who's a little bit level than the rest of us. There's one that's in a different level than the rest of the people in Congress. And you heard that she was the first Latina woman ever elected to Congress. This is the woman, think about it, she was also the first woman to ever chair the Foreign Affairs Committee. This is a woman, you know, you walk around and you see these portraits. There's already a portrait of her, beautiful big portrait of her, in the Foreign Affairs Committee. But she's the only person that you're going to run into who's also going to have her portrait in the Capitol building itself. Why do I tell you that? Not to, but because if I were you, get a picture with her. If I were you, give her a big hug. If I were you, take advantage of that moment, because we are in the presence of one of the greatest stateswomen, statespeople in the history of this country, in this Congress. She's sitting right here.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it. Thank you.
I'll be here all week.
I have to, the appropriators have been called now to leadership, so I got to run. I apologize, otherwise I would love to stay with you. Thank you so much.
All right, Mario, thank you.
Thank you, Mario, and thank all the speakers, and how appropriate what Mario mentioned about Ili. As I mentioned, there's no one I admire more. Let me just, in the context of the importance of education, because that's really what CHLI is most about, helping students fulfill their dreams by preparing and connecting and really being part of students' educations. Ileana, despite the fact that she works 20-hour days and has for all those years that she's been involved in public service, she managed to find time to get a doctoral degree in education.
Spare time.
In her spare time. Mario talked about the fact that, yes, meet her, get a picture with her if you can, because she's one of the most extraordinary statesmen in the history of the Republic of the United States. And there's, I like to point out, as someone who reads history and as someone who has, as I mentioned before, met a lot of people here on the Hill and in other realms of leadership, Hey, Joe, maybe you could help close the door? Thank you so much. Joel Avila is one of those responsible for Chile's focus on Venezuela, and thank you, Joel, again for your leadership. A key member of our board. As part of Ileana's doctoral degree, just part of it, she was asked, it was her idea, to get members of Congress to fill out a form, a questionnaire. It was significant, it was lengthy, on education. Now, as a number of the my former colleagues who have spoken today have pointed out, not all members of Congress necessarily are the most amenable to sitting down and filling out questionnaires and doing that kind of a service to someone who asks. Ileana got every member of Congress, House and Senate, to fill out the questionnaire on education. I am convinced, as a student of the American Republic, that no one else in the history of the American Republic could have achieved that. To get every member of Congress through persuasion, through the way in which I remember when I arrived, one of the things that most impacted me when I arrived here, the first term before I got on the Rules Committee, I was named to the Rules Committee in 1994, but my first term here I was in the Foreign Affairs Committee, where Ileana had already served. She arrived about 3 years earlier to Congress. And I was impacted by the fact that, first time I saw heads of state or government visit, Illy would say, "Come on over, let's get a picture." And she could do that. She could arrange the photograph, get the head of state, come here, head of state, and they're fine. It's awesome. It's extraordinary. Illy's ability to deal with human beings with respect, with love, and to impact them. So Mario was right when he said, if you can, reach out to her, get a picture with her, one of the most extraordinary statesmen in the history of the American Republic. And what a privilege for me it is to be able to call her my sister. Thank you all for being here. You're going to have a great set of panels today and listen to other leaders. What a privilege to have you here in Washington. Marianne,
Marianne. Thank you so much.
So thank you, another round of applause for all our speakers and for our chairman, thank you. And for our custodians, thank you. I'm going to pass it on now to Ethan, who's going to share with you what we're going to be doing next. I know we're a little bit behind schedule, but that's okay because that means that you had some great presentations and that they came from the heart. And so I know that you appreciate that. So he's going to walk you through what we're doing next, and then he'll introduce the keynote speaker as well. Again, we're not going to take any formal break, so if you need to step out, please do so. Okay, Ethan, all yours.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Very exciting that you were able to see 5 members of Congress in a row speak to you. That doesn't happen very often, so I think that you should definitely understand what a privilege that was for you all to see both Republicans and Democrats coming to the podium to address you all as the future workforce that is getting ready to enter into the market. So just a few notes on where we are in the program. So we have come to the point where the keynote speaker will give his speech to you all. Then a few things are going to happen when he's done, and I'm going to cover that now. So we will be transitioning the room. There's a removable wall that we'll be pulling closed to run 2 concurrent panels. So the way that the rest of the conference works is you will just choose one of the other based on what you're more interested in going to. So we will have 2 concurrent panels running at the same time, and we'll have 2 of those back to back. So you can flip rooms. You have the speakers, organizations, etc. from there. To make the transition a lot smoother and a lot faster, I'm going to have everybody whose chairs are 5 rows in from this metal track here, just pick them up and move them to the end here, so then that way we can pull this wall closed and set up the panels. So this side of the room, y'all are the lucky, no, not yet, not yet. This side of the room, y'all are the lucky ones because you don't have to do that. So after the keynote speaker, we'll have this side of the room move their chairs. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce him now if he's ready. So our keynote speaker is Robert Rodriguez. He is the president of Dr. Robert Rodriguez Advisors LLC, which is a diversity consulting firm that helps business leaders elevate the impact and effectiveness of their workplace inclusion initiatives. Recently, the Hispanic Business Magazine named Robert one of the top 100 most influential Latinos in corporate America. In 2017, Chicago United selected him as one of the business leaders of color. He serves on the advisory council of the Hispanic Scholarship Fund and was previously board chairman for the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement Programs for Hispanic nonprofits, including the National Hispanic Corporate Council and the Hispanic Association for Corporate Responsibility. He's authored a book titled Latino Talent, Effective Strategies to Recruit, Retain, and Develop Hispanic Professionals. And one lucky winner in each of the panels today will be able to take an autographed copy of his book home. So if you attend one of the panels, you'll be entered into the drawing for that, which is awesome. So please welcome to the stage Dr. Robert Rodriguez, who is going to talk to you a little bit about his career.
Well, you know, it's funny, I speak all the time at corporations and conferences, but yeah, after following all those speakers this morning, I'm a little nervous. I'm like, boy, I hope I don't disappoint. Thank you again to CHLI, to the members, to the board, to the advisory council, to the staff, and of course, special thank you to my dear friend Mary Ann for the invitation to come on out here. You know, I promise to keep this short, no matter how long it'll take, because I know that there's lots of great programming, and you definitely want to connect with each other and chat, but I want to, you know, come here today to share some of my, hoping that it might give some guidance, hopefully that it might provide inspiration as you are on your path and your journey. I would be remiss, though, Barbara, without saying a couple words about Venezuela myself. You know, my dear girlfriend, who I love very much, is from Caracas, so she's a Venezolana, and I see every single day through her just what's happening down there. It's just terrible. Every day she shows me clips of you know, citizens being beat up, you know, by the government, by the colectivos. Every day she tells me how her family back in Caracas doesn't have water, they have power outages. When they come visit us in the United States and we're out at night, we see how jittery they are. Because back at home, there's so much crime, and if you stop at a stoplight at night, you're likely to get robbed. And every day, I see, you know, just the demand for basic supplies. So I commend CHLI for bringing and putting a spotlight on what's going on in Venezuela. I know it's a tragedy. It's terrible what's going on, and I commend. We used to go to Wapaton, North Dakota, to work sugar beets. And then one año Papi said, oye, mijo, there's a little Latino community on the west side of St. Paul, Minnesota. And that's where I grew up. Minnesota's a great place to live, a great place to raise a family, but not a lot of Latinos, and not a lot of diversity in Minnesota, at least at the time when I was there. So I share that with you because early on in my upbringing, in my childhood, when I entered high school, college, definitely early in my career, I struggled a bit with my sense of identity. Right? I struggled if I should shout it from the rooftop and say, yo soy Latino, and represent, right? Chicano power, all that. Or if it's something that I should downplay, right? Because there weren't a lot of people like me at my high school, at my college, and early on in my profession. And so fortunately, I was able to connect with leaders at several nonprofits similar to CHLI that really helped me to find my voice, helped me find my way. And one of the things that helped me to achieve some of the success I've had today is definitely my pursuit of education, which was instilled in me by my parents. You know, I did pretty well in high school.
fortunate enough to get into college. But it's funny, I don't know about some of you, but when I got into college, you know, some of my cousins, and I love them to death, but instead of like throwing a party and a parade for Bobby, you know, Bobby went to college, it was, you know, Bobby, he thinks he's all that. I guess it, right? And some of those things, and they said that even though that they loved her, because they didn't think that going to college was something that Latinos should do, right? Because they didn't see a lot of folks like them at college, and even though it may sound mean and dispirited, they were doing it to try to protect me, right? They say, well, Bobby, maybe we don't belong there, or else there'd be more of us. And I didn't like that, right? So I hope to change that. Went on to college, decided to why stop at the bachelor's degree? Right? Decided to pursue my master's education, get an MBA, and this is probably my first point I want to share with you today. I remember getting my graduate degree and complaining to my grandmother, Guadalupe. And I said, "Oh, Mommy, I'm kind of pissed. I'm kind of ticked off." I'm like, "About what?" She's like, "I've never once, not once, had a Latino professor in undergrad and at graduate school. And that's not right. And that's not fair, right?" And if you know my grandmother, what do you think she said? She said, "Mijo, if you don't like it, go do something about it. Right? If you don't like the fact that there's no Latino professors, damn it, go get your doctorate and go become a professor yourself." And that's what I did. Right? I'm proud to say not only did I get my doctorate, I teach at USC in Southern California. I teach at Southern Methodist University down in Dallas, and I teach at DePaul University in Chicago. Because of what my grandmother told me. If you don't like it, do something about it. We heard some of those things this morning, right? You know, if you don't like it, do something about it. Get involved. Be active. You're doing that here today by your involvement. But if you don't like the fact that there's not enough diversity in our organizations, there's not enough diversity in Congress, if there's not enough diversity in our leadership and corporations, do something about it. If you don't like the fact that we don't have enough people of color getting advanced degrees, going on to pursue their doctorates and leadership certificates, MBAs, CPAs, all that, if you don't like it, do something about it. You know, that message is something that I carried on. Once I got my doctorate, I noticed that a lot of my coursework didn't involve books by Latino professors. Again, went to my grandma. "Wait, Mommy, this is not fair. It's not right. All these professors, all these books, all these courses, not one Latino professor, not one Latino author in our books." So, what you say, you know, if you don't like it, do something about it. So I'm proud to be an author. So I support and thank CHLI for the support. And I share that with you because one of the things, when I got my book published, I had, and I still remember the story to this day, I had a Latina approach me. She's like, "You know, Robert, you know, I'm trying to get a book published, but I'm not getting very far. I'm not getting a lot of traction. We get lots of turn downs by publishers." I said, "Okay, well, I know it's not easy to get your book published, but what's the reason they're telling you for not publishing your book?" And what she shared with me just really ticked me off. She said, "Well, basically, Robert, what they're telling me is, A, Latinos don't buy books, and B, Latinas can't read." Can you believe that stuff? That's what publishers were telling her. And this wasn't that long ago. So because of that, I thank the support of CHLI for buying some copies of my book that some of you will be able to get, because I know for every Latino author today that we support, it's going to make it easier for those of you who have a book in you, and I know that you do, to get your book published. So thank you for that show of support. You know, when I sorry, particularly because we have folks here from Miller Court, I know I see Alberto back there. Quick little story about the power of education. You know, when we were younger, immigrant family, didn't have a lot of money, right? Probably like some of you, struggled to make ends meet. So I remember very vividly
on many a weekend, getting up early on Saturday, getting up early on Sunday, mom and pop driving down the alleys behind some of the bars in our neighborhood. And see mom and dad open up the dumpster and having me and my brother go into the meat hole, throw up the cans, right? The Miller cans, the Coors cans, because we need to recycle to make some money. Throw up the cans. And to show you the power of education is within one generation, we went from doing that to not that long ago, I met with Tom Long, the CEO of Miller Coors, and I was advising him on some of their Latino initiatives. So can you believe that, right? It's from one generation. So thank you. It's just a testament to the power of education. So, look at it, look how far you can attain. I encourage you there's never a good time to get your degree, so don't let that stop you. And if you want any advice on what it takes to get through graduate school, what it takes to get a doctorate, I'd be more than glad to help. A couple things I want to share besides that is, there's a theme that I've noticed this morning. And when I read some of the bios of the interns and I've met some of the folks who are not only with CHLI, but some of the other organizations here, is we definitely see individuals who have high personal achievement. And I think that's great. I think that's terrible. You're way on your path to accomplishing great things. But what really excites me about CHLI and some of the other organizations here is they're also helping you on your path towards excellence. Because for me, they're two different things. I think it's possible for someone to achieve great things personally as an individual, but not be excellent. Because the definition of excellence for me is leveraging your individual success to help others be successful. To basically give back to our communities. So as you go and continue on your journey, again, strive for success, continue to achieve, you have some momentum, keep that up. But don't forget that you have an obligation, you have a responsibility to give back. Because you're here today because you stood on the shoulders of others, you have to do that for that next generation. So give back. The need is simply too great for us not to get involved, not to give back, to support not only the younger generation, so those of you who are still in high school, help those junior high kids, help those elementary kids, those of you in college, help the high school kids, so on and so forth. The need is simply too great, and we have to continue on our path, not only towards personal achievement, but towards excellence. It's just too important. A couple of things that I'll wrap up because I want to help us get us back on the schedule. Folks ask me, Robert, you've had some success in corporate America. What are some things that have really helped you? And what are some tricks or keys that made your journey somewhat more smooth? And probably the best way to share it with you is through some stories, right? First one is an individual I met not that long ago. A bright individual. I'll just call him Pedro to protect his identity. Made Pedro at a conference similar to like this. Young guy, met him, and he impressed me. I said, hey, I like this kid. I want to see what I can do to help out. I want to give back, right? I want to mentor. So I reached out to Pedro one day because he happens to live in Chicago, where I live. Go Cubs. And I called him up. I said, oh, hey, Pedro, I'm going to be in your area next week. Let's get together for lunch. Right? He's like, oh, Robert, thanks for reaching out. I'd love to, but I can't. I'm really busy. All right, kind of at that time, I get that. A couple more weeks went by. I remember that Pedro said he liked to golf. Me and a couple friends were getting together for a foursome on a Saturday morning to go golfing. We had an open spot. Oh, hey, Pedro, we're going golfing next week. Thanks, love to. Can't. I'm really busy. All right, I get it, sorry. I didn't give you enough notice. About 2 months after that, I was at a diversity event, happened to have a table at this event, had an extra spot at my table. Called up Pedro. Oh, hey, Pedro, I got an extra table at my event. won't you join me? Oh, Robert, I'd love to. I can't. I'm really busy. He's a busy guy. But I said, hey, I reached out 3 times. Not that long ago, Pedro reached out to me. Robert, oh buddy, oh pal. I just lost my job. I'm in transition. Can we get together for lunch? What do you think I said?
I'm busy.
I said, no, I'd love to have lunch. But guess what? That lunch came with a lecture, right? Because I said, wait, Rita, when I was reaching out to you, because I wanted to get to know you, I wanted to develop a friendship with you, I wanted to see how I can help you. And I get it, you're busy. Well, guess what, dang it, I'm busy too, right? And the fact that you're only calling me because you need my help, it kind of ticks me off, right? This is a young guy, and I felt this was a teachable moment, right? So I share that story for you is because I don't want any of you to be like Pedro. You know, one of the great things about working here in Washington, D.C., or wherever you come from, you know, we talk about the importance of networking and building friendships and developing relationships. That's true. But you have to develop the type of relationships where you're not just turning to those people that you know only when you need their help. You have to nurture relationships. You have to invest in them. You have to let folks, send them a quick tweet. Hey, you know, what'd you think? Hey, I think you'll like this article. Send them a text. Send them an email. I saw this note. Hey, happy birthday, whatever. Build equity in those relationships. Because that way when you do need help, it's not the first time they've heard from you in years. Because you don't want to get that reputation where when you know, caller ID comes up and folks see that you're calling, is like, oh shoot. The only time he calls, the only time she calls is when she needs something. Don't be a Pedro. That's one of the things in my opinion. Don't be a Pedro. 2 more things. One is, all of you have had success so far because you're smart and you work hard. I see it. You bust your ass, deliver results, you get stuff done, as I heard earlier. You're pretty intelligent. But don't forget, as you move up within your career, pretty soon you're going to get to a level where everybody else is smart and everybody else works hard. So you have to find that one thing for you that differentiates you from all the other smart and hardworking people in the room. And I don't know what that is for you. Only you can define that. But it's never too early to start articulating that, to say, hey, this is what differentiates me. And you don't do it from a position of bragging or boasting. But you do it from a position of, this is how I can add value, this is how I can help you. So start thinking about that thing. Start thinking about what differentiates you from all these smart and hardworking people in this room. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is this idea of, it sounds kind of gross actually, is this concept I learned from a friend of mine. Actually wrote a book, Good is Not Good Enough. It's a But basically what this concept means is, you know, I've had some success in my career. I do a lot of presentations at companies. And I could have walked in here today, you know, bragging and saying, Mina, I'm the bomb, I'm the stuff, right? You know, big t-shirt that says, Mina, I'm the greatest, right? Look at Mina Robert Rodriguez. I know my stuff, right? And you would have thought, who's this guy think he is, right? What a braggart, you know? Because I was wearing my own t-shirt saying how bright, how smart I am. Right? The way you're going to continue to be successful and the way you're going to continue to advance is to put yourself in a position where you're not having to tell people how great you are. Other people are doing that for you. So think about that. Who's wearing your t-shirt? Who's advocating on your behalf? Who's saying, I know a guy. I know a young lady. She's sharp. She's bright. Because that's how you're going to start getting invitations to more committees, conferences, leadership opportunities, because you have other folks advocating on your behalf. You know, I'm proud to say, you know, Marianne and I've had a great friendship for many, many years, And I know she knows that I wear her t-shirt, tell folks how great she is, and she does the same for me. My good friend David Olivencia and Sid Wilson, you know, we wear each other's t-shirts because we know how important that is. So start thinking about it. Who's wearing your t-shirt and how are you going to go about doing that? You do it by giving back, by excelling, right? Not just achieving, by excelling, and you do that by making things happen, particularly the things that you don't like what's going on. So thank you for your time. Thank you for the invitation, for the lucky folks who get a book. It'll be an honor to sign them. I appreciate it. Go on, Godspeed. And I'll be hanging around for the afternoon if you have any other questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, so that was a jam-packed morning of some awesome speeches. So, like we discussed and we rehearsed a little bit in our minds, we are going to transition this room into the two panels. So, but I want everybody to stand up